IVM.
Welcome to a brand new episode of the Musafir Stories, India's very own travel podcast, where each week we share the journey of travelers in their own words and relive their experiences with you, our listeners.
Hi guys, welcome to a brand new episode of the Musafir Stories, India's very own travel podcast. Now before we begin with today's episode, a few quick housekeeping chores to address. Firstly, a big shout out to some of our listeners who have been taking the time out to write to us, either through emails or reviews on iTunes or through social media handles or through your podcast apps. Thank you so much. We really appreciate this gesture. I'd just like to call out a few of those names. Shubhi Rai, Kartik Ram, Akbar Basha, Akash Gupta, Manoj Gaud, Harsh Trivedi, Ninora, Naga, and Nick. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for all the love and support. Secondly, we are now ready to announce the winners of the contest we ran a couple of weeks ago to celebrate our anniversary episode featuring Shivya Nath. And the winners are Abhinav Kaushik, Megha Diora, and Rohan Shetty. A big congratulations to all the winners on winning yourself a copy of Shivya's bestseller, The Shooting Star. You will hear from us shortly, so keep an eye out on your inbox. Now, as for today's episode, we have with us the multi-talented Meenakshi Param, a traveler, a travel blogger, a teacher, a supermom, and an Air Force wife. So buckle up as we head out to a new destination with Meenakshi. So with that introduction, I'd like to welcome Meenakshi Param from the blog polkajunction.com. Meenakshi, thank you so much for being a part of the Musafir Stories and welcome to the podcast.
Hi Meenakshi, welcome to the Musafir Stories.
Thanks a lot. It's my pleasure to be here on the show.
It's our pleasure to have you, and I'm so glad that we're able to do this interview because unfortunately, I think due to some circumstances or the other, we this kept getting pushed. So yay, we're finally doing it.
Yeah, let's term it as jinxed, okay?
Yes. We're right now unjinxing it, I hope.
Yeah, now we're breaking the jinx now.
Yeah.
So, Meenakshi, the introduction I gave about you is very short and concise because there's so much more that you do apart from traveling as well and Polka Junction, of course. Tell us and our listeners a little bit more about yourself, about Meenakshi, and also about your travel journey. How do you get to this point, being a travel blogger along with the other things you're doing?
Sure. I started off working for Microsoft as a product support mentor.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Moved on to GE, and then I had to give a break to my career because I was marrying an Air Force officer.
Oh, wow.
And I had to and we were actually posted to a very remote village, or should I call a town called Suratgarh, which was near the Rajasthan the Rajasthan and Pakistan border as such.
Oh my God, okay.
So that's when I had to give up my career, and then, the kid happened, and then motherhood took a priority over other things.
Okay.
So meanwhile, I was trying to hone my skills by, doing my post-graduation, doing a B.Ed. Now that the kiddo is in his teens,
wonderful.
I have restarted my career. I took up a job as a lecturer. Because the principal at Sacred Heart Convent, Dalhousie, wanted me to pitch in since the board exams of the 12th grade students were coming up, and they were in dire need of a teacher or a lecturer.
Okay.
Yeah, so that is how I happened to be a lecturer. So I'm more of an accidental teacher.
Yeah, it was like God's plan for you, yeah.
Yeah, because since childhood, I have always hated to be, I never ever want to be a teacher because my home is like filled with academicians and educators. So I sort of wanted to break the glass ceiling and actually take up something else. So it was one of my students who actually, who wanted me to start a blog. She was like, ma'am, you make stories sound so convincing. So why don't you start a blog?
Oh, wonderful, huh?
I started off with book reviews. Then I thought I should also add travel into it because I had been, out of the so-called Fauji trunks for the last 14 years.
No.
And I have been to so many places. My dad was in the railways, so travel has always been there in our family.
Wonderful. That's really nice to know, Meenakshi, about your journey, about how you started blogging and how everything fell into place.
From accidental teacher to accidental blogger also. I mean, in one way, if you look at it, it was perhaps because of teaching that you also started blogging, right? You said because one of your students suggested you start a blog. So either way, we're very glad that you're doing this, and we wanted to share some of these wonderful stories with our listeners too. We're equally excited about the place you're going to speak about too today, because it seems like the foundation for your blogging started from there, which is Dalhousie, as you mentioned, right? So tell us a little bit more for some of us who haven't been to Dalhousie. Draw it out for us in terms of its orientation, or like geographically, where does Dalhousie fall, and when's a good time to visit there, Meenakshi?
Since Dalhousie is very close to my heart, I would definitely talk about it more than you actually want me to.
We are all yours, yeah.
Dalhousie actually falls in the lower ranges of the Himalayas, at the footsteps of Dowladus, facing the majestic Pir Panjal ranges of Punjab.
Right.
So the whole area is the lower Himalayan ranges. Unlike the other hill stations like Shimla or Manali, which is quite famous in the tourist circuits, Dalhousie is often ignored. Maybe because it doesn't offer much to shopaholics.
Okay.
It's a very sleepy town. It's a very sluggish and small and sleepy town, unlike a Shimla or a Manali. So the very first time I actually heard about Dalhousie, I couldn't believe that the place witnesses heavy snowfall. Because as a South Indian, I have always heard about Shimla or Manali. I have never heard about any other hill stations like Kasauli or Dalhousie.
Right.
Okay. So when the posting orders actually came, we were posted in the Thar Desert. So it sounded very cool in the literal sense.
Like a drastic change.
A drastic change of the terrain as well as climate. Yeah. So, and it came just post the summer season.
No.
Sounded really good to our ears when we were told that we are being posted to Dalhousie. So, as we usually go on our postings, we took to the road. We were on a road trip from the Thar Desert to Dalhousie.
Probably calls for making of a movie, I think, from Thar to Dalhousie.
I know.
That's a good title.
Yeah, really dreamy. Yeah.
Yeah, very dreamy. And there is another snippet about, or a tidbit about Dalhousie is, this particular place was shown as Sikkim in Dil Se movie.
Oh,
really? Okay. This is interesting. I didn't know about this. Yeah.
Yeah, and the structure or the building which served as the All India radio station. Remember, Shahrukh
Right.
worked
Yeah.
there?
Right.
That is where I worked, and that is where I was taking classes.
Oh my God.
Wonderful.
That's super interesting. Because what is this? What a Sacred Heart convent you're saying?
Exactly.
Because I tried to do a little bit of research on my end, and the only thing I could find out from it is that I think parts of a song from which is this Gadar, I think was shot in Sacred Heart is all I could find. But Dil Se is like a complete revelation to me.
Yeah, that's the best kept secret of. I'm a big Maniratnam fan. That's how I somehow got to know, and I have been silently, visiting all the places shown in his movies. There are three buildings of Sacred Heart Convent. So the heritage structure is where the movie was shot. That is how it happened. So this particular hill station is famous as film locations, and majorly it's the Punjabi crowd which lands here over the weekends. You may actually not find those international tourists loitering here. It's more of the local tourists who come over to Dalhousie.
Okay. And how far of a journey is it from, if you're leaving from Punjab, somewhere around Punjab?
Okay, the nearest railway station is at Pathankot. So it's like a 3-hour journey from Pathankot.
Okay. Oh, that's good.
So from Dalhousie, you can actually go over to Dharamshala as well. So the nearest airport is at Dharamshala.
Oh, all right.
Okay.
Nice.
And then, actually also in terms of a good time to visit here, right? Given that it also gets some snow and all of that, what would you suggest for somebody who's visiting Dalhousie? When is a good time to visit there?
Well, since I have lived there for 2 years, I can very well vouch for this particular fact that this place is really good throughout the year.
Oh, nice.
Even on my blog, there is a particular blog post where I've mentioned the special months in which somebody can visit. And by the end of the post, I realized that I have already covered all the 12 months. Yeah, because from December to March, it is the snowfall season. And post that, you have these blooming flowers, and the place is filled with butterflies. It is like, you try to wade your way through the butterflies. Okay, which not many actually know. They think it's like, it is a mini version of the Valley of Flowers.
Right.
And then, of course, it being a hill station, the summers are beautiful again. And then the monsoons create mesmerizing, colors over the mountain ranges. So I guess we have covered all the seasons.
Perfect all throughout. Yeah.
Dream destination in a real sense then.
Yeah, but then as I said, it's for people who want some peace, some calmness, who do not want to do anything else apart from lazing around, just going for treks, going for walk. Okay, and there is a saying in these hills that walking is a fashion. So that is the only thing you can actually indulge in nature.
Right. Nature, absolutely.
Yeah, there are no, branded hi-fi malls or whatever here. So if somebody is coming here for shopping, they would definitely be disappointed.
Okay.
If you really want to indulge and fall in love with nature again, then this is the place.
Wonderful.
Nice
And thank you so much for calling that out and laying this out so nicely right at the beginning. But one other thing that I also wanted to touch upon that I felt was special about Dalhousie was that the colonial influence on Dalhousie, right? And actually that's also something that's very, in some ways, unique to Dalhousie compared to a few of these other places that you mentioned, right? So do you want to touch upon that a little bit as well, the history of the Britishers coming here as well?
Sure. Well, the word Dalhousie itself will definitely remind the listeners about Lord Dalhousie.
Right.
This was discovered, more than 160 years ago. So there was this particular person called Dr. Blemenger of the army, the infantry, who supposedly trekked to the Pir Panjal ranges. The British always were on a lookout for cooler climate. That is how he stumbled upon this particular place. They wanted to create a sanatorium for their soldiers, for the ailing soldiers, so that they could recover fast. So Dalhousie was actually, the whole cantonment in Dalhousie was created as a sanatorium in the first place. It was never a proper touristy hill station, unlike a Shimla or Manali. It was more of a sanatorium. Patients came here for a recovery.
Okay, nice. And I think it would have been like a perfect place among the hills.
Yeah. So this idea of a retreat, it was given by engineer Robert Napier. If someone is a history buff among our listeners, they would surely associate Robert Napier with Lucknow Mutiny.
Okay.
He's the same Robert Napier who was involved in the mutiny at Lucknow.
Okay.
Since Lord Dalhousie had actually sanctioned the amount for this particular area of a retreat, this place was named after him.
Okay.
So it was more like a bribe. Okay, now that you have given me money, let me name this place after you.
After you, right.
Okay, so because there is no actual connection between Dalhousie, Lord Dalhousie, and this particular place. Otherwise, because when this particular area was created as a retreat, he was somewhere in the east. He was actually the governor of Bengal at that time.
Oh, okay.
And the record says that he actually never made it to this particular hill station because of the distance from Bengal.
That is so sad.
How ironic, yeah.
But not many know about this. Many think, Lord Dalhousie must have visited this place, but he actually never visited this place.
Oh, that's a nice information.
I think it just drives down the point that even back in the day, money and influence could buy you anything, right?
Oh, yeah. Anything. Yeah, and he never actually traveled. See, Dalhousie as such consists of 5 hills.
Huh?
Okay, so like Batur, Katlag, Potren, Tehra, which is also known as Moti Tibba, and Bakrota. So these are like 5 hills which constitutes the whole Dalhousie town as such.
Okay.
So this was under the control of the Raja of Chammba at that time.
Okay.
So they had actually paid rupees 12,000 in those days. Okay, I'm talking about in 1854.
Oh Lord, okay, 12,000 is a big amount.
Yeah.
A big amount, yeah. So, so he was for a year. It was like 12,000 was paid to Raja Sri Singh of Chamba, and that is how these 5 hills were taken over for this project of a sanatorium. So that is how Dalhousie came into being.
No.
Wonderful,
That's
wonderful.
nice to know.
And again, thank you so much for sprinkling with these historically significant points and little snippets. Yeah.
Hope it did not sound like a history lesson.
No,
absolutely
I think
not.
it makes it all the more interesting, especially facts like how ironic it is, right? That Dalhousie, it's named after him, and he couldn't even manage to
Make it
be there or even be associated to it in any way. So wonderful. Thank you so much for laying that out to us. And getting on in a little more detail about the place itself, right? About Dalhousie. So for someone visiting there, what kind of an itinerary would you suggest, Meenakshi?
Okay. The first day ideally has to be devoted to acclimatization. Okay, owing to the altitude of Dalhousie.
Okay.
Yeah, I think as perhaps your blog also mentions, this is like between 6,000 and 9,000 feet above sea level, right? So this is a kind of a place that needs acclimatization, or you risk falling sick, falling a victim to AMS and things like that. Maybe not as acute as being up in the Himalayas. You're still at the foothills, but still acclimatization is definitely recommended before you get out and start exploring, right?
Yeah. So maybe half a day goes in acclimatization, and then the second half could be dedicated to visiting those churches and roaming around the Thandi sadak and the Garam sadak.
Okay, interesting.
What is that?
Okay, these two are nothing but strip of road around the hill called Moti Tibba.
Okay.
So there were 2 hills, and this goes like in the shape of 8 around these 2 hills. So we actually lived, our house was on Moti Tibba, and my school was on the other hill. So if I had to, walk to the school, then I had to actually walk in the fashion of 8, the number numeral 8. So it looks actually aerially it looks like a 8. So maybe visit. You can actually visit even the Dalhousie, the Sacred Heart Convent. There's a chapel over there which is supposedly a very old chapel. Okay, it's more than 100-year-old chapel. So you can take special permission to visit that as well. There are a couple of churches like the St. John's Church, which was established in 1863. Then apart from this, you can walk around the Thandi and the Garam sadak. It's named so because there's hardly any sunlight on the Thandi sadak. Hence, it always remains cold. So it is
cold. Okay.
And when there is a sunset or a sunrise, the sunlight falls on the Garam sadak and it is quite warm. So you have these small food joints and the boutiques around these two roads. Apart from this, there is a Tibetan market where you can actually indulge in some shopping. Basically, these are places which these markets cater to the local people. So basically, these markets, the Gandhi Chowk or the Subhash Chowk, all these markets cater to the local people.
Okay. So that way, it's not your touristy kind of a place, right? This is more functional in that aspect.
Exactly. But then, the weekends are like too busy. The roads get choked. There are traffic jams everywhere because Dalhousie is home to many boarding schools. Okay. So most of the families in Punjab send their children over here. So all these roads get choked because the parents come visiting the children during the weekends.
Yeah. And I think this is one issue with a lot of hill stations also, right? Because, they built that way. A little extra inflow of traffic can lead to traffic jams. But yeah, at least I'm glad that, say, compared to a Shimla or a Manali, this is still not that touristy yet. And for somebody looking to come and have like a really laid back and relaxing time in the lap of nature in one way, I think Dalhousie serves as that perfect retreat. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so wonderful. I think you did touch upon a few places here, and what I also wanted to ask is about the architecture of the place, right? Given that we spoke about the colonial influence as well, even that might be something that's a little different, right, compared to, say, the neighboring places that you mentioned, with the British influence on these places.
Yes, like for example, of course, since the British were themselves Europeans, you have a European architecture, around Dalhousie. Apart from this, you have the Himachali, homes with those slated roofs and stuff like that, made of mud and all. It's like any other Himachal town or village. So there are more than 200 villages around Dalhousie. So, so when you actually stand on a peak, either Dharamshala or Dalhousie, when you look down, you actually find the small hamlets around. So, which have the Himachali architecture.
Okay.
Apart from which, the Sacred Heart Convent is actually run by Belgium nuns.
Okay.
Okay, so you have that architecture as well when you enter the campus. So each one, and of course nowadays you have the contemporary architecture as well, which is quite different from the other style of architecture. So it's actually a good melange of a lot of architecture.
Wonderful, yeah, because that is something that stood out as well. And talking about the different kind of people also, right? It's in one way it's a very unique confluence also of both Himachali as well as Tibetan and even Buddhist people here, right? So that way, I think that kind of adds to everything, right, from the architecture to the food choices you have to a number of different things, even shopping for that matter, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Apart from, you talked about the Himachalis and the Tibetans, you also have a substantial Bengali population here, surprisingly.
Right.
Rabindranath Tagore and Subhash Chandra Bose had visited this particular place. So there is a Bengal connect to Dalhousie as well. Even though Lord Dalhousie never made it, there were enough Bengalis who actually live here and have made it before as well.
Yeah. Okay. So the distance was not really a reason, right?
Yeah, not really a reason. Remember I was talking about those 5 hills before?
Right. Yeah.
Okay, so one of those hills is Bakrota. And Rabindranath Tagore had actually lived with his father in one of the houses on those hills, on Bakrota Hill. Okay, so one can actually visit that place as well. And just below the Bakrota Hill, there goes a trail or a trek towards a village called Karelu. And that is where you have the Subhash Bauli. Now, it is said that Subhash Chandra Bose had tuberculosis. And remember, I was talking about Dalhousie as a sanatorium. Okay, so he had visited this place so that he could recover and heal. So it is said that Subhash Chandra Bose was actually used to drink water from a particular well, because of which he got completely recovered from tuberculosis. So that particular place. Yeah. That particular place has been modified and now there is a tap running with water out of it, and that is known as the Subhash Bauli.
Okay, yeah. So, basically for people who don't really speak, I guess, Hindi as their native language, Bauli is a well, right? Hindi word for
a well. Yeah,
well.
A well.
So, a very interesting fact there about the Bengal connection. And I did read up, like you've also mentioned in your blog, about Rabindranath Tagore actually mentioning this in his book also, right? About how fondly he looked back at the time he spent there as a kid along with his father, and he kind of paints a really beautiful and dreamy picture. It almost feels like you're into a novel, right? The way he's written about it and the kind of experiences he had living there, the different places, and the beautiful landscapes. I mean, we haven't spoken a lot about it, but that's one of the, I guess, strong points of Dalhousie also, right? The beautiful landscapes and the valleys and the pines and the deodars, as you mentioned, all of that, and go on.
There's this place called Kajiar. I mean, it is known as the mini Switzerland. It has been tagged or given a tag as the mini Switzerland, though I wouldn't like to use that word of mini Switzerland because India has got its own beauty. We did not keep comparing it with, other countries and other places. It is like a saucer-shaped meadow surrounded by the hills, and it's beautiful just after snowfall, and even otherwise, the whole place looks really majestic. And I guess that is the reason why it was chosen as the perfect place for a sanatorium in the first place. It is a perfect escape from the mundane, the daily routine, which we are put through. Yeah, but interestingly, most of the people in Dalhousie escape to Dharamshala. The local people of Dalhousie usually escape during the weekends to Dharamshala and other places because they get so bored of seeing the same hills again and again.
Mm-hmm.
So they would like to have a change of terrain, so they end up in other hill stations.
Yeah, I guess it was for a good reason that somebody came up with the saying that the grass is always greener on the other side.
Yeah.
Lovely. So thank you for painting out the beautiful picture of the landscapes also, and a few good mentions about, say, for example, Khajiar also, right? As the places in the vicinity that one can visit and take advantage of. And any other, say, treks or something that one can indulge in, Meenakshi, while one is at Dalhousie?
The most famous is the Dayankund trek.
Okay.
Dharamshala is famous because you actually get a 360-degree view of the whole valley. And you can actually get a glimpse of the Pir Panjal as well as the Dauladars. And there is this a very famous temple known as the Poloni Mata temple. So usually the local people and the tourists flock over to this particular temple.
And in terms of, say, distance from Dalhousie, how far is this?
It's around 15 kilometers. Uphill. I'm talking about from the actual center of Dalhousie. From the bus stand of Dalhousie, it is around 15 kilometers.
Okay. And then as far as the trek in itself is concerned, how much of a trek is it?
Well, there are various routes.
Okay, different trails.
Yeah, there are various trails. You can actually come from Kala Top. You can actually go through Bakrota Hill. So it depends on which trail you're taking.
Okay. And quite an interesting name also, Meenakshi. Is there any story behind the name? The Dayankund name?
Okay. See, it's a folklore, okay? So supposedly there was a witch who was troubling the local people around these hills.
Oh, that's why.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Dayan is witch. She was actually staying in a pond. So the Poloni Mata, the goddess, was a savior. She vanquished this particular witch inside the kund itself.
Oh, okay, that's the name.
And that's the reason it is known as Dayankund. So this particular the kund area is out of bounds. It is not for general public. It comes under the Air Force area.
Oh, wonderful.
Okay.
So we did manage to trek till there. Though we were a bit skeptical about going there.
Why is that?
Because of lots of beliefs of the local people. They asked us not to go post sunset. They said, the witch, there might be other witches over there and stuff like that. And they said that particular kund is haunted.
Oh, Lord.
But then I'm glad that we took that trek because the view it offers is spellbinding. Because you get to see all the three rivers which flow through the Punjab plains from there. So that's like an aerial view of the three rivers flowing majestically over the Punjab plains. So that is one trek, though it is prohibited, but if you get a chance, you should indulge in that particular view.
Definitely looks like, sounds like something that is really, really worth doing, right? Especially if you're getting that kind of a view where you can see literally the three rivers of Punjab, right? That's across the state, right?
Yeah. Especially during the sunset, it's beautiful. So, yeah. And this particular as I was talking about the goddess, she has her own abode known as the Poloni Mata temple, from where devotees can get a glimpse of the Mani Mahesh Parvat. Now, Mani Mahesh is supposedly a state pilgrimage center, or it's a pilgrimage which happens in the months of September and October in Himachal. So, a lot of devotees actually flock in to have a glimpse of Mani Mahesh. It is equivalent to Kailash Mansarovar Yatra. So one can actually get a glimpse of that particular Mani Mahesh peak from the Poloni Mata temple. You need to go and stand behind the temple structure, because otherwise we will not be able to recognize the particular peak. So once you go behind the temple structure, there is a small arrow which points out to that particular peak, saying Mani Mahesh Parvat. So that is the point from where you can actually view the exact peak. And it is quite a tricky trek. One needs to be very careful because you do not have much help or any security measures over there. And the mountain sides are very steep. Remember, I said Dayankund is the highest point in this particular area from where you can actually have 360-degree view. So it is on a much higher range than Dalhousie. So one needs to be very careful while doing this trek, especially during the rainy season.
That's some good points, and looks like a very interesting trek also. You also get yourself acquainted with some of the local folklore there, both of the Dayankund as well as Paulani Mata, right? So that way it's a very interesting trek. And then talking a little bit more about these treks, did you have a chance to go on any of the other treks in the vicinity, or would you suggest people do any other treks in the vicinity, Meenakshi?
Sure. There is another trek which goes over the peaks from Dayankund onwards. You can actually go to a place called Jot. Okay. You can also trek down to Kajiyar from Dayankund, which takes about, I guess, 4 hours. You can also trek from Dayankund to Chamba. You can also trek from Bakrota Hill to Dayankund. It is another beautiful trek. Dayankund is actually, the whole region is known as Singing Hills. It is because the trees produce some melodious sounds, as winds blow past the woods. So as the winds ruffle the leaves of the pine, the oaks, and the other trees, it sort of produces a rhythmic sound.
Very interesting, especially for us city dwellers, right, who are so devoid of any kind of calm, for that matter, right? The only kind of music we hear day in and day out is these honking cars and trucks and everybody honking. So that's the only music we listen to. But it's very heartwarming to hear that one can expect to listen to some melodious tunes that are made by the whistling winds of around the hills.
Yeah. Especially, just before the rainy season. That is when you can literally, it is very soothing. You can actually listen as if, there's a tune being played as the winds blow. So that is the reason why these hills are known as the Singing Hills. So that is another trek which I would definitely recommend. There is a place called Ala, which is famous for its potato, farming. Okay, so you can actually trek from Ala to Dayankund. So this is the easiest trek, and it offers beautiful views. But though it is a bit dangerous, a lot of wild animals have been spotted here, from snow leopard to the other animals.
Oh my God! Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it makes it a little adventurous also.
Yeah.
In that case.
Yeah. Finally, some adventure into Dalhousie.
But yeah, it's absolutely, been almost like in the lap of nature, right? From the way you've been describing it, as well as the different instances we have seen in terms of beautiful pictures also. It almost feels like you are in the lap of nature. But while we're also in the lap of nature, one tends to feel hungry from time to time doing all these treks, right? So what was your experience with food, Meenakshi?
You get all sorts of food. You actually get a duplicate version of McDonald's burger there.
Oh, really?
I don't know whether I should be happy about it or sad about it, but yeah, Faisal looks happy.
So you actually get all sorts of food. You get your hot piping momos. You get the chaat. You get golgappe if you want. The pani puri. You get everything. You get Himachali food. There are a couple of restaurants which are really good, like the Quality Restaurant at Gandhi Chowk. They prepare a particular type of noodles, and it's really good. I guess I really don't remember, but I guess it is known as the Singapore noodles. I'm not very sure.
Okay. Are those the yellow ones?
Yeah. I mean, it's been quite long, so...
Okay. Because the Shivsagar here in Bangalore has these Singapore noodles that at least are my favorite. So it has a lot of dry fruit in it. It's bright yellow, and I don't know, I just love it.
No, I mean, food-wise, people will not have much of a problem. The tourists will not have much of a problem because you always get every kind of food in Dalhousie. Nice. You have lots of coffee shops which are coming up now. So that way, Dalhousie is well stocked for a foodie traveler.
Right. So that's wonderful. I think it makes it a perfect retreat because you can enjoy the nature, plus you're not deprived of the food options. So yes.
Yeah, remember I was talking about this Ala trek to dine.
Right.
So there is this one particular shop called the Atmaram Ka Dukan. Okay, this person has been living there for decades now. That is the only shop you will find in the vicinity, in that whole area. He caters to more than 35 to 40 villages down. You go at any time, he'll dish out, hot chai, parathas, and those doodh peda.
Oh my God.
These doodh pedas are like very famous because he sources the milk from these hamlets. Really pure. Even the chai tastes so good. Of course, you always have the Maggi, which tastes much better when in the hills. Even without the important vegetables in that, it tastes awesome. Dalhousie is like well stocked that way for a foodie traveler.
Okay, wonderful. I guess Faiza has one problem sorted out in that case.
Before
she goes to a place, she's always wondering about what food options it has to offer. But yeah, thank you. It's been, I think, a very, very wholesome trip, especially for us city dwellers who are looking always to get away from this routine, from this grind, from this constant honking and the unsavory kind of music or singing. And thank you for laying this out so well, Meenakshi. Is there more to the place that you'd like to add?
Honestly, I can actually go on and on about Dalhousie because I have lived almost 365 plus 365 days over there. Okay. Somewhere around.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but then I guess we need to stop somewhere.
Yeah.
So, but then before going, before you actually get out of Dalhousie, you need to grab a few bottles of the Himachali chuk.
Okay, what's that?
Himachali chuk is the pickle which they make.
Oh,
okay.
They make out of flowers, exotic flowers and ferns over there. And you also get exotic wines made of, all sorts of rhododendron, and then you have the fern wines, you have the pineapple wines, you get exotic wines and chuk, which are a must-haves.
And I think the first time I'm hearing a pickle out of flowers and ferns.
Oh,
that sounds
exotic. They also make some chutneys with flowers over there. These make for good souvenirs.
Seriously, yeah.
Yeah, they make for good souvenirs over there. And another tip is always carry an umbrella because, as I always say, the weather in the hills is as unpredictable as human beings. Okay. So you need to carry an umbrella with you always throughout the year. But otherwise, Dalhousie is an excellent place, unlike the other crowded hill stations. However, visit only if you're not a shopaholic. That is how I can sum up this wonderful place called Dalhousie.
Thank you so much, Meenakshi. And I think I've mentioned this last time as well when I was talking to you, but I would like to put it on to all our listeners that, guys, please go ahead and check out Meenakshi's blog. At least I loved reading it. So it was wonderful. And I especially loved that picture where you've taken it from that one particular point in different weather conditions. That's a wonderful picture. I think it's taken from your window. You were saying last time I spoke to you. Yeah. So that just gives an insight into how beautiful the place is. So thank you so much for being a part of the Musafir Stories and sharing this beautiful place with us.
Thanks a lot, Faiza, and thanks a lot, Saif. Before I sign off, just 2 lines.
Sure.
Yes,
There's a huge scarcity of space and water in these mountains.
Mm-hmm.
So let us be very responsible when we are visiting this particular place. The residents actually buy water over there. So there is a huge scarcity of water in these mountains. And there is a particular saying in Himachal where they say the youth and the water of the mountains are never used for the benefit of the mountains as such, because they flow down to the plains. So whenever you are actually, visiting these places or as tourists, let us be a bit more responsible, with using water and not wasting water, etc. Let us also be a responsible tourist.
Absolutely. On that very profound note, I think it was very deep and very real too. If we want to maintain the beauty of places like this, I think it absolutely calls for us showing more maturity and being more responsible so that we can save and preserve this for future generations as well, and not just tell them stories about these beautiful places. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for these words, Meenakshi.
You're welcome. Thanks a lot for having me here. Thank you.
That was yet another great episode of the Musafir Stories. If you guys like the show, please subscribe to us on iTunes or Apple Podcasts, Audioboom, Savan, Pocket Casts, Castbox, Stitcher, or any other podcasting app available on iOS or Android. Please do leave us a review on iTunes. It goes a long way in the show's discoverability. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. We go by the handle The Musafir Stories. Or, if it suits you, you could email us at themusafirstories@gmail.com or visit our website at www.themusafirstories.com for more information. All of these links will be made available in the show notes section of each episode. So here's to more traveling, sharing, and inspiring. Stay tuned for our next episode. Until then, happy travels and goodbye.